let's talk about a difficult truth. It happens so quietly. You just wake up one morning and you realize the effort, that feeling, it's just gone. And it's not because you gave up or stopped trying, it's because somewhere, somehow, it just stopped working. I'm Lumo, and this is CapitolX. In this explainer, we're going to completely dismantle the financial lie you were told about hard work. So, let's get one thing straight right from the start. This isn't going to be motivational. It's not here to comfort you, and we are definitely not here to praise your hustle. What we are going to do is explain why your effort was never actually designed to change your financial position.
So that brings us to what I call the effort contradiction. And you really need to get this. It's not some accident. It's structural.
Think about it. You were told something so simple it was almost like a religion, right? Work hard, be patient, stay disciplined, and one day the numbers will finally catch up to your effort. But just look around. Really look. On one side, you've got the hardest workers. What do they look like? Exhausted, always busy, super responsible, and completely stuck. Then you look at the other side, the people who are actually moving ahead. They don't look like they're trying harder. They just look lighter. And this leads to a really fundamental question, doesn't it? If pure effort was the thing that created wealth, why doesn't the world already look completely different? Why doesn't it reflect that so-called truth? It's because effort was never the actual lever. It was the camouflage. And trust me, once you see what was hiding underneath it all, you can't unsee it. This brings us right into something called the competence trap. This is that exact moment when working harder just completely falls apart as an explanation for what's happening in your life. And the symptoms, they're subtle, but they just don't go away. Your financial position, it hasn't really moved in years. You've got the same stress, you keep hitting the same ceiling, and you carry that same quiet fear that time is just slipping away. Now, you probably don't say this out loud, but there's a voice inside that starts to ask a really dangerous question. What if I completely misunderstood the game? And that question, it's expensive because it usually shows up way too late. Okay, so this brings us to a really critical distinction, visible versus scalable. Because here's the secret, wealth doesn't reward what's visible. And right here, this reveals the core conflict. See, effort is visible. Everyone can see it. That's why it gets praised. But what actually gets rewarded is leverage. Why? Because leverage is scalable, and your personal effort, well, that doesn't scale. The thing is, from day one, you were trained to confuse movement with progress. Those long hours, they feel like momentum. That stress, it feels like importance. Being busy, that feels like you're adding value. But here's the truth. None of it is actually moving capital in your direction. So, here's the most crucial point of all. You're out here playing an exponential game. And in a game like that, linear inputs, well, they just can't win. This lays out the first invisible rule perfectly. Your effort, it's linear. You put in 1 hour, you get 1 hour's worth of output back. Simple. But wealth creation, that's exponential. You see, most people don't actually have an income problem. What they have is a leverage problem. The real issue is that they lack a system that can multiply their output way beyond their direct one-to-one input. So ask yourself this, and be honest. If you just stopped working tomorrow, what would keep paying you? If the answer is nothing, then your effort isn't building wealth. It's just funding your survival. And this brings us to the final critical reframe, earning versus positioning. This right here, this is the financial truth that hard work was never ever meant to fix. So here is the core principle you need to remember. Effort is for earning. Wealth is for positioning. See, earning feels safe, which is exactly why everyone encourages it. But positioning, that feels risky. And that's why almost no one ever explains it to you. Okay, so where does wealth actually flow? It goes to 3 specific places. First, to control. That's the ability to influence outcomes without you having to be directly involved. Second, to ownership, actually holding equity in assets that go up in value. And third, to asymmetry, finding those opportunities where the potential upside is just massively bigger than the downside. Now, if your daily effort isn't moving you closer to one of those 3 things, it's not progress. It's just maintenance. You have to understand this. Effort was never meant to make you wealthy. It was meant to keep you predictable, right inside the system. Real wealth, that comes from the point where your effort stops being the bottleneck. So now you see the difference, right? The difference between earning and positioning. The only question left is, what's your first step going to be to build some real leverage?